Hi everyone and welcome to Create a Website with Notion. I'm super excited to show you all how to create websites using Notion sites today. As we're getting started, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. What's your favorite recent Notion feature? There's been so many features recently, so feel free to let me know. And I can briefly go over today's event itinerary. So today we'll be starting with an introduction, followed by why Notion as a website builder, and then best tips to create a website with Notion, followed by a building together session where I'll show you how to build a personal website in Notion, and then we'll have a Q&A, and then I'll show you how to download freebies and more. So to get started, let's go ahead with the introduction. And if you're new here, the Organized Notebook specializes in designing Notion templates that can help you optimize your workflow, organize data, and increase productivity, as well as provide custom design and consultation services. Be sure to check out the website for freebies and free resources for beginners to get started with Notion. So I'll go ahead and put the link into the chat if you're interested in the website. And hi from Hong Kong. Nice to have you here. A few notes about the event. Add your comments and questions into the chat. Please keep the conversation respectful and about the event. There is a lag with the chat, so I may be delayed in answering questions, but please type your questions and I'll make sure to go through them at the end. Just a friendly reminder, this chat is for discussing about this event and Notion related topics. Messages not relating to these will be moderated and removed if needed. And also a little bit about me. I've been using Notion since around 2022 and I've seen so much development inside of Notion, and you can just build so much more nowadays. So yeah, I'm just really excited to be able to share about Notion with all of you. And yeah, it's just like an amazing all-in-one tool. So next, if we go here, why Notion as a website builder? So feel free to also type into the chat, have you ever used Notion to publish a landing page or a quick site? So what can you create with Notion sites? So you can basically create anything you want with Notion sites. You can create blogs, you can do landing pages, portfolio websites, company docs, resume, and CV. All of these can be shared to the web. And some of the pros of using Notion sites is that you don't need to have any coding experience. You can really just drag and drop the blocks. It really just feels like Notion, but it gets shared to the web. So it's really convenient in that way. You don't need to use any custom code or web developers to publish the website. It's just a couple of clicks and you can just have it published. It's also a really user-friendly interface, so Notion is excellent for creating simple websites due to its versatility, user-friendly interface from company websites, blogs, personal resumes, and portfolios. So yeah, if you're used to using Notion, publishing a Notion site is basically the same as creating a Notion page. Publish pages yourself, so all it takes to publish a page to the web is a single click. There's really no need to worry about enlisting designers, engineers to build or expand your site. You can just swiftly, effortlessly make any Notion page public, and it will be accessible via a link you share or even searchable through search engines. The other thing is that you can connect custom domains to Notion as well. So this even further personalizes your website. If you want to publish an official page, then you can use your own custom domain. You can also have a Notion domain that you can customize to your brand name so that it's not so much of a random Notion link, but you can actually add some of that brand personality to the custom domain as well. The cons of building a website in Notion, so I think it's also important to look at the limitations as well. And because it is a Notion page in essence, it does have limited customization. So if you aren't a fan of how Notion looks like itself on a page, then you might not like the style that you get when you create a Notion website. But that being said, if you like the Notion aesthetic, then it can be great. And it's also very simple. So You don't really have to think about it too much when you're designing with Notion. So you might want to use like a third party on top of Notion if that's an issue. Lack of password protection, that's another big one, I would say. So that's something that I really wish Notion would add personally, because oftentimes I'll want to share a page with people, but I don't want it to be a public page without having to invite them into the page. So yeah, lack of password protection is another downside for sure. If you want to have people log into your Notion site to access private information, unfortunately, Notion doesn't currently support this. So I see some activity in the chat. Hi, everyone. Really nice to have you all here. It looks like everyone's from different countries: Kenya, Philippines, South Africa. So yeah, and Dutchy HK says, I do struggle with including e-commerce in the sites. I hope you'll address that as well. Yeah, I can show a little bit about that actually today. I won't be covering it in full detail. It also depends on what kind of e-commerce you use. So not all types of e-commerce you can actually embed into Notion pages. And hi from Honolulu. Oh, that's really early, 3 a.m. But happy to have you here. Great. So let's go to the next page. Best tips to create a website with Notion. So the best tips is to really have your goals set. So define your goals. Are you looking to showcase your work, attract potential clients, simply share your ideas? So your goals are going to guide the structure and content of your website. So for example, if you want to make it very simple, maybe one page, if it's something like a portfolio that you want someone to understand in one glance, or do you want a bunch of pages that people can click through? So that's another thing. You can definitely use pre-designed templates that would save you a lot of time and focus on more actual content on your website. And regarding customization, you can do things like the website theme in a very basic way with headers, navigation bars, and Google Analytics. So I'll also cover a bit about the limitations with the navigation bar as well. But you can see here all the things you can do. And in essence, when you do publish a Notion site, you can even have it duplicate as a template. So when you have a live page, that also can become a Notion template, unless you toggle this part off. So it's very versatile to use Notion sites. The other thing is that you can use embedded apps. So as I was mentioning earlier about the e-commerce use case, if you embed, for example, I can embed Gumroad into a Notion page, and people can actually check out through the Notion site itself. So I would recommend trying things out, so you don't always know which ones work and which ones might not work inside of a Notion page. So definitely testing out embedding and apps and widgets can be a huge help for creating more versatile web pages. So I'm also going to link that cheat sheet into the chat if you want to go ahead and already start looking at that. So I'll go ahead and add that in here, so you can check that out. And I see someone from the States has joined. Just adding some merchandise for tournament participants to book and pay ahead of the event. Yeah, so if you're already using some kind of third-party tool for that, then you could potentially embed that into a Notion page. But you cannot, unfortunately, embed payment systems like natively in Notion. So that is definitely a limitation. So if we go next, I first wanted to go over the Notion site's differences between the different plans. So if you're wondering what is the difference with Notion site's features, for example, if you're using a free plan versus a paid plan. So I just wanted to briefly go over that. And so this is directly from Notion's own site. So this is the most current information. So basically a free plan, you can publish an unlimited number of Notion sites. So that's very versatile already. You can claim one Notion.site domain, And you can also turn on search engine indexing for your site. So you can already do quite a lot on the free plan. With the paid plan, you can publish an unlimited number of Notion sites, same as the free plan. You can claim up to 5 Notion.site domains. So if you want to create more than just one, then this might be a very important feature for you. Turn on search engine indexing for your sites. You can set a homepage for your domains. You can customize your Notion sites, integrate your Notion sites with Google Analytics, and you can also optionally connect up to 25 existing custom domains with Notion sites by purchasing the custom domain add-on. So the custom domain basically means that you would have to purchase a custom domain from outside of Notion and then connect it to Notion. But when you do that, you would have to pay like a monthly recurring fee for that. So that's something to just note. And although we're going to be building soon, before we build, I can also briefly show about the domain situation. So if you go to the sidebar here, and then if you go to the settings and you go to the public pages here, you can see the domains. So for example, I have the domain theorganizednotebook.notion.site for all of my pages that I publish through Notion. But if you want to click new domain, you can add new custom Notion domains, but it's always going to say notion.site when you do that. And then if you already own a domain, you can connect an existing domain to Notion for $10 a month, and then you would have more of a cleaner link. So it wouldn't say notion.site, it would be whatever your website domain is. So those are the information about the domains. And you can also always show publish banner on sites. This I like to stay on. There was a movement to actually remove this feature, I think, at one point, but it's just so much cleaner and clearer to know that a page is published when I have this on. So I would recommend keeping this one on in your workspace. So if we go back, that's the differences between the different plans. And then I wanted to quickly share an example of a simple website. So I'm going to actually share this one with you. So this is actually also a free template. So if you want to actually use this, you can as well. But this one has the embed of Gumroad in there as well. So you can kind of see what kind of embeds are possible. And this one is a Notion site. So next, I wanted to show what we're going to be building today. So if you have Notion open, you can, of course, follow along. And if it goes too fast, you're welcome to rewatch this later. So this is going to also be recorded, so you can definitely rewatch it. And here's what we're basically going to build. So this is a very simple website. So we have a welcome message here, latest articles if you want to add some kind of blog feature here. And then there's also a calendar. There's also a contact page. There's the blog again, and then there's an FAQ section with an embedded Loom video. So, and as you can see, I've managed the navigation all like this. So you can basically click everywhere like this and return home. And one thing that I wanted to showcase today in this personal website build is also that you can integrate Notion's own forms. So we'll also be building a very basic Notion form that you can then embed into your personal website. So that's something that I would say is sort of newer feature inside of Notion, that you can do this. Previously, I always recommended third-party forms. And if you want to be able to accept payments, then you might need to use like a third-party form to then embed into Notion. So that's how I recommend gathering either contacts, or if you need to gather payments, then currently you would need to use a third-party tool for that. So now let's go ahead and go to an empty Notion page, and we're going to get started with the build. So to start with this, I would recommend going to the top right hand corner 3 dots and then turn on small text full width, especially for a website. But if it is something where it's just a 1-page introduction about yourself, you might consider even having it in the middle. So if it's sort of like a portfolio or resume type thing, you might want to keep it in the middle. But if you want to have more like widespread information, then you would want to have it with the small text full width. So the first thing I'm going to do is title this. So I'm going to name this maybe welcome to my page. And we can go ahead and add an icon. So I'm going to add something like a page like this, and we can get started by creating 2 columns. So I'm going to do /column, and on the left side I'm going to be building the navigation system, and then on this other side I'm going to have a welcome message. So I can go ahead and type /heading 3 for the welcome message, so welcome, and then I'll add a hand wave here. And a quick trick if you want to access emojis really easily is to type the colon and then the keyword. So in this case, I'll put a hand. And actually, I think I want this a bit bigger. So I think I'll turn this into heading 1. And then I'll move this over here. And then inside here, we can add a sort of welcome message. So I'm going to go ahead and add that here. So this is just some sample text here. And on this side, we can do /call out, and we can start with a navigation. And actually for the navigation with Notion sites, you can also build in a navigation through the customization, but there are some limitations. So I'm going to show that to you when we publish this one. But basically, I think it's up to 5 pages that you can actually have on the top as the navigation. So if you have more than 5 pages, you might want to build in your own navigation system. So I'm going to call this one navigation. And then I'll bold this one. And inside here, we're going to start adding pages inside. So that's where all of our website pages are going to go. Underneath here, I'm going to add the blog section. So I'm going to type /heading 3, my latest articles, /divider. And in here, we're going to add a gallery view database. And usually when you build out dashboards, I recommend you to store databases in a specific page. But in this case, since it's a sort of forward-facing website, you can go ahead and add a direct inline database here. So I'm going to go ahead and type gallery view and add that in, plus empty data source. And this one's going to be called blog. And then I can go ahead and hide the database title. I can rename this one to view all like this. And we can add a few samples. So let's go ahead and add 2 of them here. And we can go ahead and add some cover photos. I'm gonna change cover, go to Unsplash, and I'll look for a desk setup here. You can add some desks. And I'll add one here as well. And now we can go to the settings, layout, and then go to the card preview to be page cover. And we can title this. So let's say that this article is about best web design ideas. We can add a tag here. So like this, you can do the same here. Recent thoughts. And then here we can add a date here as well. And then now we can go to the settings, go to property visibility, and then I'm going to show the date and the tags like this. And we have a very basic blog setup. So you could write your article inside of here in a free form style. And now that there's also feed view, you might even consider adding those here. So that could also really look nice in a Notion site. And next, what we're going to do is build out the different pages. So with here and add an icon for a calendar. So let's say that you have some kind of event calendar here, then you could add that in. I'm going to do /column to 2 columns here, and I'll move this over /heading 3. You can find me at these events. /divider, and then /calendar. So we can do calendar view database, new empty data source, and then this can be event calendar. And then we can hide the database title here. And this site is going to be saved for when we have the navigation. So we can go back to the main page here. Now you see event calendar as a page. We're also going to add a contact page. So I'm going to type /page. This one is contact page or contact. And we can go ahead and add an icon for that, for message. And again, I'm going to do small text full width and then /column for 2 columns. And on this side, we're going to add that form. So I'm going to leave this blank actually and have this ready for when that's done. And then I'm going to click here again. And this time we can even just duplicate this one. So I'm going to duplicate this one. And we can call this one blog. Change the icon to a writing one like this. And then on the right hand side, I'll put again heading 3, latest articles /divider. And then here we need to do /linked view database. So since the original database is in the main page, we need to link the view of that data source here in this blog. So now we're going to look for the blog. So it should be this one. Oh, it's not this one. So it's important to actually rename this really something unique. So actually I'll go back so I can show you. So if your workspace has a bunch of databases that have very similar names, then you'll want to make sure that it's named something that you can easily find. So I'll put event 2025. And then if I go back here, now if I go here, I should be able to find that data source, blog event 2025, in the view all view, and then I'll do hide database title. So now we have this here. And the next thing we're going to do is to go back, and I'm going to also do a FAQ page. So I'm going to type /page, and I'll do FAQ. And this one will be a question. So something like this. And then we can go ahead and click the 3 dots here, small text full width again, and then /column to create 2 columns. And on this one, we can do /heading 3, frequently asked questions /divider. And let's say some people want to know, how do you duplicate a template? Something like that. Then you can definitely embed an instructional video here. So I'm going to use Loom, but you can definitely embed YouTube, anything you want here. And Notion, depending on the tool, will format it. So here it knows that it's Loom, so it can embed Loom. So now it's going to load here, and we have that. So it's very simple. So now if I go back here, then we've pretty much have everything set up now. So the next step is going to be to add that form that I showed, to do the contact form. And you can take this even further by embedding other kinds of forms. And if you have a paid Notion plan that supports the conditional form feature, then you can even add conditional forms here too. So I'm going to type /page here and type form or contact form. And in here, we're going to add the form. So I'm going to type /form, and we can type the form title. So this is basically what the forward-facing the form is going to look like. So here I'm going to put, let's see, contact form. And then we can change the questions. So this one we want to be name. And then this one, we're going to change it to email. And then we'll have a text here and long answer, and then message. And you can also set some of these to be required. So in the case of email, since you probably have to reply to them, you can set that to required. And you can also require this one and require this one. So forms is like a whole nother thing that there's quite a lot to customize here. But basically, once you set up the form like this, you can click share form and change this one to anyone on the web with a link. And then you can even turn off the Notion branding, copy form link, and then paste that into your Notion site to use as a contact form. So before Notion Forms, it was that you always had to use a third-party tool for that. But now it's basically works similar to a Notion database. So you would be able to collect all of your answers in this database. But not only that, if you have the ability to use the automations, you can even add automations that you would get notified with an email when someone fills out the contact form. So that's pretty versatile in that sense that you can use Notion's own native forms, and then you can go back to the website here, and then you can go to the contact, and then we're going to add it to the other side and paste it in, and then all you have to do is embed. So now we have the contact form inside of the Notion site directly, and we can go back. So the final step here is actually to now connect the navigation system. So to do that, you can click the 6 dots here, and then I'm going to turn this into a synced block. So sync block is kind of a trick so that it syncs across all the pages. And so basically, if you have pages inside of a sync block, when you're in another page, you're able to access that page. So it becomes more clear if I turn this one on. But now, if I go to event calendar, and let's say I paste this one in, copy link to block. If I paste this one in, sync block, then I can go to my contacts here, paste this one in as a sync block. I can go to my blog, paste this one in. I can go to my FAQ and paste this in. Then if I go here, now I can basically access all of these pages no matter what page I'm in. And to give you another example of how this works, if I add things in here, it's going to be reflected in every page where this is synced to. So now I would like to have a home button. So I'm going to add a button here where it goes home with a home icon. And then I'll type return home. And when the button is clicked, I want it to go back to welcome to my page. So basically what I have to do is control click this one and copy the link to this. So once you do that, you can do plus new action and choose open page. And you just have to paste it in. And we do full page. And now if I click here, I can return home. So basically we're in event calendar, I can return home, contacts, I can return home, blog, return home, and FAQ, return home. So that's a very good navigation system no matter what you're using inside of Notion. So even if this isn't a Notion site, this is a pretty useful thing to include in your Notion pages. Now we get to the part where we can share it to the web. So to do that, you can click share here, and we can click the publish. So now this is going to become a website with Notion. I'm going to click publish. And when that happens, you can see that blue banner here. So that's what I was talking about with the settings in your workspace, that you can actually not have this, but I think it's good that you can easily see that it's live. And you can also edit the link here. And some of these features does require a paid Notion plan. So for example, the customized site styling, this one, you do need to have a paid Notion plan in order to do all of these things. But you can upload an image to share as the preview of your Notion site. You can change the theme. So if you want it to always be dark mode, if you want it to always show as light mode or system settings, you can upload a favicon. You can choose the header style. So if you don't want the breadcrumbs on, the search on, the share, duplicate as template, I would definitely leave off if this is a personal website. You don't want people to be duplicating your personal website. And then you can also add a navigation here. So in our case, we only have 4 pages here. So you can actually add all of these as pages. So I could do this and add the FAQ, the blog, the contact, like this, and it all fits up here. But the moment you have more than 5, then you can't fit everything up at the top, which is why I would recommend a navigation system inside for those situations. So now you can also do Google Analytics. So if you want to measure your Google Analytics, you can definitely add those here. And then I can hit publish changes. And now if I go to search engine indexing, you can also turn that on if you want it to be discoverable. You can add a link title and description as well. So it's a little bit basic, but definitely able to do these kinds of simple SEO things. And then you can also see all of your sites and links in one place. If you click here, you can embed this page into other websites outside of Notion. And then finally, you can share this page on social media. So those are the options for Notion sites. And I'll actually go ahead and share this link with you all so that you can see what that looks like on the web. So I'll click here. And next, what we can do is to, so we basically built everything out now. And if this went by too fast, feel free to rewatch this. So you can create your own website. There's a lot of customization you can do and play around with. So definitely try this out. And I wanted to show you a few examples that I've made that's also available on the store currently with a 40% discount with code OCT40 during checkout. And some of these also showcase the possibilities of if you need to, for example, accept payments and things like that. So since that was one of the questions, I wanted to show this website template that I have. So here it's using a third-party form. So because it's using a third-party form, you can see that it's possible to actually get payments inside here. So that's something to consider if you're looking to use Notion sites in order to sell a product or course offering and things like that. And the other thing I wanted to showcase is, for example, you can also add testimonials like this as well. So there's a lot of third-party things that you can embed that would allow you to do a little bit more than what's natively available inside of Notion. So those would be things that I would recommend checking out. As an example, this one is for a UX UI designer portfolio website. So this one, I put all of the links at the top like this. And as you can see, there's more than 5. So I put them at the top because with the Notion customization, you're not able to do that natively. So there's a lot of workarounds that you can definitely do. So yeah, if you're interested in these templates, I'm going to go ahead and paste those in. And yeah, I really like Senja. I think that it's really useful for collecting testimonials, and it looks really nice. So I found that I've really enjoyed using it. So I'm going to go ahead and paste the links to the portfolio websites if you're interested. And I'm going to also add this one. There we go. So yeah, awesome. Next, if I go here, so now we get into the Q&A. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions throughout this event. If you have anything about the creating personal websites or any specific questions that I can answer, and I'll try my best. Great. So let me also know if you have any questions at the end. You can also just email me as well if something comes up. And I can go ahead and showcase a little bit more of some things that you can download. So yeah, I just shared the Notion website templates. The newly refreshed Notion course is out now as well if you're interested in learning more about Notion. I basically refilmed everything this month, so it's one of the most fresh courses. Notion has done a lot of UI changes recently, so things have changed a lot. Okay, Joshua asked, would Notion work for blogs? I would say Notion would work really well for blogs. The only thing would be that if you really need a lot of SEO features that maybe with blogging you might want, it could be pretty limiting with Notion. But if it's like a personal thing that you want to show to other people, your own writing, then Notion sites could work really well. What is the best way to have a page where people can comment on a page, or better yet, add to a wiki? So if you want people to comment on a page, unfortunately, they have to be logged on into Notion in order to do that. So another option could be, like if you want it to be sort of like a forum type situation, you could sort of do a workaround where you have a Notion form that then adds to a Notion database that you share on the site. So that sounds a little bit complicated, but I think that might be the only way if you want that kind of interactive element where someone types into the form and then immediately that would show up into that site. Otherwise, you can share. So if I actually go back, I can share the share setting. So otherwise, if I go to this one here and okay, if they're Notion users, you just have is that can comment, and then if you share that, then they'll be able to comment on this page. And here as well, yeah, I think you would have to do the also check the general access as well. But basically, if you want them to be able to actually interact with the page, they need to be in Notion, and then they can do that. So they can't do that through the browser unless they're logged in. And yeah, glad to hear you like the course. There any other questions? And I hope those answered those questions for the blog and commenting on a page. Add to wiki, I would say also could be done with a form. Actually, maybe not with a form because wikis aren't quite a database. So I would recommend maybe building a database. So yeah, be sure to download all the freebies. I think this cheat sheet is pretty useful that I shared earlier. If you're interested in seeing a full list of embeddable apps and widgets that you can try out. And of course, be sure to check the freebies as well. And I'm going to put the links here. So here is the course and the freebies. And then, yeah, if you're interested in one-to-one coaching sessions or custom services, feel free to reach out. Each session includes a short free consultation, so you're welcome to just come and chat. If you have any questions or comments after this, info@gmail.com. Thank you, Mark, for joining as well. Yeah, glad that this event was helpful. And again, if you have any questions at the end, let me go ahead and try to add those links again. Somehow the YouTube live links are not working too well at the moment. But yeah, that should be the freebies. And then if you're interested in services, those are here. So yeah, thank you so much for joining this session today. There should be another one next month. I haven't quite decided on a topic. So if you have any topics you're curious about, feel free to also email me. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.